Welcome to Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins. Thanks for watching this clip from our interview with Chef Robert Irvine. For the full episode, find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Links in the description below.
You've cooked all around the world, and then television, where did that play in?
It's funny. I used to do a local TV show on a Sunday night where I'd get emails. It's a local NBC 40, actually, was the actual station. It's now gone, I think. But and I would do 20-minute, 22-minute cooking bits and pieces and answer questions that people would email me. Yeah. Then I got to meet Suzanne Roberts, who Comcast, and do her CN8 program, which was Seeking Solutions with Suzanne. Then I was working with Paula Deen a lot. For some other reason, she would visit Atlantic City. I would set her stage and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of other famous chefs. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. Anybody can do that. Geez, that's not that difficult. So I was opening up for Paula Deen at the Armory in New Jersey. It was a food and wine festival. Okay. 2,000 people in the audience. The only reason I was giving cheesecakes away. That's why they stayed. Yeah. And then I was doing a demo.
Free cheesecake.
And at that point, Mark Summers from Double Dare fame had met some guy I was doing some financial things with. And I said, oh, you got to come to the Armory because I'm going to open up for Paula Deen. And he said, yeah, I'll come. And he just watched me. I didn't do anything different. It was me. Yeah. And he came up to me and he said, yeah, I think you've got something. I just don't know what something is. And I said, well, what does that mean? Yeah. How does that work? Right. He said, well, go away, write some TV shows, some ideas. And at that point, I'd already been at the White House as a guest chef program in 1997.
Was he doing Unwrapped yet?
No. Okay. No. He was doing Slime, whatever it is, the slime show on kids. I don't even know what it's called.
Oh, Double Dare. Double Dare.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, then you get...
He's slimed? Yeah. Yep. Well, that's what he was famous for. But somebody said, oh, he's the guy to get you into Food Network. So I said, come and watch. And I kept sending him every week, ideas and things. He's like, no. And then I had a job where I was visiting aircraft carriers, military bases, doing all this. My life was really cool. Yeah. And I wrote what I was doing for the next couple of months. And he said, oh, that's a TV show. And I said, good. So we pitched it to Food Network. Dinner Impossible was born. No food, no knowledge, timeline, get it done. I think we did somewhere in the region of about 150 episodes of that. So it went from 22 minutes, and and this is as true as I say here in my children's life. Yeah. I had no idea what they're going to throw at me. It was like walk up, somebody would give you a mission, and it's like,
so brain, what we saw was real.
Absolutely. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Same with Restaurant Impossible. I never wanted to be prepped, just like I said to you on this interview. So we did the first one. It was called the Knowlton Boys. It was a wedding. I was going to do a wedding in 8 hours for an Irish guy and a Japanese girl. And I had to come up with the menu, the cake, everything. Yep. In 8 hours. No food, no equipment, and 5, I think it was 5, maybe it was 4, but I think it was 5 dishwashers, not chefs.
That's it?
300 people, get it on 8 hours. And we finished the show, and it was a pilot, basically. Yeah, sure. And I was so proud of these kids because there was a lot of intense moments. I'm a military guy. Get it done. Yeah. No, but these kids didn't know what to do. Sure. Peel asparagus. So
you're having to teach them while you're in this. I'm having to teach them while I'm cooking, but doing the cooking at the same time. Right.
And listen to the bride and the groom. And then Summers wanted to mess with me, so he bought in a wedding planner to do the churchy kind of stuff. And I argued, it was real. She was a real pain, diva. And I said, no, I want the flowers this way and that way, not only for the church, but also for I wanted a continual flow. I think she was in tears. You see her crying because I was that intense. We did it. The food was amazing, and I didn't know. So these kids, they took off their shirts and chef's jackets. Took off I had a white T-shirt on. It's in the show. I didn't realize there was a camera And I had no idea there was a camera still filming. And I just said to the kids, I'm like, first of all, I'm proud of you. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I'd take you into battle anywhere with me. And thanks. And if ever you need anything, you call me, right? Because they were that good. They didn't know me and I'm barking orders.
Yeah.
Somebody filmed that. It went to Food Network and they picked it up.
That was it?
They picked it up immediately.
I mean, the show, it's like still such an incredible thing to watch.
It's still worldwide.
Yeah,
and
totally.
then from that, and from that came Restaurant Impossible, which is in 170 countries.
Did you ever not achieve the goal?
On Dinner Impossible, many times.
Okay.
So the difference between not achieving the goal on Dinner Impossible, it may have been one of them, for example, feeding 30 NBA teams at the playoffs, right? 3 dish. So they said take 1 dish from each state and do it. I did 3.
Okay.
Right. So did I fail not doing 3 and some? Yes, but there was no life-altering consequences.
Okay.
It was me against me. And how could I push myself to a full limit and push people to the limit? Restaurant Impossible, I've never failed a show because I worked for 48 hours straight, and I pushed the guys, and I upset a lot of people because what people don't realize, I think, is in the early days of Restaurant Impossible, I was about this, the fixtures and fittings. I don't care about you. You failed, right? And then so that started again as a 22-minute show, by the way, that went to a 44-minute show with 300 plus episodes. And it went from one day I had my daughter, who was Annalise. She's 15 years old. And I was doing a restaurant and they had a handicapped son named LJ. He was, I'm going to probably cry at this, so hope not, but 300 pounds in a wheelchair, autistic, one of like 3 people in the world with a very rare genetic disease, gonna die. We did this restaurant. It was beautiful. I mean, from top to bottom, just beautiful. Yeah. And just before we give the restaurant back, the mom gives me an envelope live on camera. And I said, what's this? She said, and she starts crying. And it was an eviction notice from the house. And I said, and my daughter was sitting there. And I said, what does this mean? She said, well, this is the only house that LJ has ever known. And I said, oh. So I picked up the phone on the air. Yeah. I called Mark Summers because he wasn't there. I said, whatever you do, don't ask why. Just say yes. And I said, I need $10,000. He said, why? I said, I told you not to ask why. He said, okay, I'll give you $10,000. So I got $10,000 from Restaurant Impossible, $10,000 from my own personal money. And we paid off the mortgage so they couldn't get evicted.
You're going to make me cry.
No, it was really emotional. And I'll tell you how emotional it was. I started to cry live on camera. My daughter, because family is more important to me than things. He passed away 2 years later. But I never forget, when he came in the restaurant, he jumped out of his wheelchair.
Wow. And
bowled me over. And I didn't understand why. Well, there was a service station. I took the door off and painted it and redid it. And there was an empty wall just before we give the restaurant. I said to Tom, hey, find me a picture to stand on that wall. And he did. It was a picture that LJ had actually painted at a Make-A-Wish Foundation event. So
he got to see his work.
It was just so my live show that travels the world right now. There's that piece has been in there since day one of that show, and it will never come out because that was, I feel, the change of materialistic things to human beings.
Do you feel like that it just like
changed my life? It wasn't only a life-changing moment for them, it changed my life.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders.
You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or your favorite specialty retailer.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram @Ingredient Insiders and Chef's Warehouse @Where Chefs Shop.